Continuing to read from Wonder by RJ Palacio for Mrs. Burke, Miss Garino, Mrs. Hazel, and Mrs. Roman's class. This is recorded with permission of the author and publisher, Knopf. Starting on page 144. Ex-friends. Bleeding scream. What the heck? Summer Dawson had always been a bit out there, but this was way too much. All I did was ask her why August was acting like he was mad at me or something. I figured she would know, and all she said was, bleeding scream? I don't even know what that means. It's so weird, because one day me and August were friends, and the next day, whoosh, he was hardly talking to me, and I haven't the slightest idea why. When I said to him, hey August, you mad at me or something? He shrugged and walked away. So I would take that as a definite yes. And since I now know for a fact I didn't do anything to him to be mad at me about, I figured Summer could tell me what's up. But all I got from her was bleeding scream. Yeah, big help. Thanks, Summer. You know, I've got plenty of other friends in school, so if August wants to officially be my ex-friend, then that's fine. That is okay with me. See if I care. I started ignoring him like he's ignoring me in school now. This is actually kind of hard since we sit next to each other in practically every class. Other kids have noticed and have started talking, asking as if August and I had a fight. Nobody asks August what's going on. Hardly anyone ever talks to him anyway. I mean, the only person he hangs out with other than me is Summer. Sometimes he hangs out with Reed Kingsley a little bit, and the two Maxes got him playing Dungeons and Dragons a few times at recess. Charlotte, for all her goody two-shoeing, doesn't ever do more than nod hello when she's passing him in the hallway. And I don't know if everyone's still playing the Plague behind his back, because no one ever really told me about it directly. But my point is, it's not like he has a whole lot of other friends he could be hanging out with instead of me. If he wants to diss me, he's the one who loses, not me. So this is how things are between us now. We only talk to each other about school stuff if we absolutely have to. Like, I'll say, what did Ruben say the homework was? And he'll answer. Or he'll be like, can I use your pencil sharpener? And I'll get my sharpener out of my pencil case for him. But as soon as the bell rings, we go our separate ways. Why this is good is because I get to hang out with a lot more kids now. Before, when I was hanging out with August all the time, kids weren't hanging out with me because they'd have to hang out with him. Or they would keep things from me, like the whole thing about the Plague. I think I was the only one who wasn't in on it, except for Summer and maybe the D&D crowd. The truth is, though nobody's that obvious about it, nobody wants to hang out with him. Everyone's way too hung up on being in the popular group, and he's just too far from the popular group as you can get. But now I can hang out with anyone I want. If I wanted to be in the popular group, I could totally be in the popular group. Why is this bad? Because A, I don't actually enjoy hanging out with the popular group that much, and B, I actually liked hanging out with August. So this is kind of messed up, and it's all August's fault. Snow. The first snow of the winter hit right before Thanksgiving break. School was closed, so we got an extra day of vacation. I was glad about that because I was so bummed about this whole August thing, and I just wanted some time to chill without having to see him every day. Also, waking up on a snow day is just about my favorite thing in the world. I love that feeling when you first open your eyes in the morning and you don't even know why everything seems different than usual. Then it hits you. Everything is quiet. No cars are honking. No buses going down the street. Then you run over to your window, and outside everything is covered in white. The sidewalks, the trees, the cars on your street, your window panes. And when that happens on a school day and you find out your school is closed, well, I don't care how old I get. I'm always going to think that it's the best feeling in the world. And I'm never going to be one of those grown-ups that use an umbrella when it's snowing, ever. Dad's school was closed too. So he took me and Jamie sledding down Skeleton Hill in the park. They say a little kid broke his neck while sledding down the hill a few years ago, but I don't know if it's one of those actually true or just one of those legends. On the way home, I spotted this banged-up wooden sled kind of propped against the old Indian rock monument. Dad said to leave it. It was just garbage, but something told me it would make the greatest sled ever. So Dad let me drag it home, and I spent the rest of the day fixing it up. I glued the broken slats together and wrapped some heavy-duty white duct tape around them for extra strength. Then I painted the whole thing white with the paint I'd gotten for the alabaster sphinx I was making for the Egyptian Museum project. When it was all dry, I painted lightning in gold letters on the middle of the wood, and I made a little lightning bolt symbol above the letters. It looked pretty professional, I have to say. Dad was like, "Wow, Jackie, you were right about that sled." The next day we went back to Skeleton Hill with lightning. It was the fastest thing I'd ever written. So much faster than the plastic sleds we'd been using. And because it had gotten warmer outside, the snow had become crunchier and wetter. Good packing snow. Me and Jamie took turns on lightning all afternoon. We were in the park until our fingers were frozen and our lips had turned a little blue. Dad had to practically drag us home. By the end of the weekend, the snow had started turning gray and yellow, and then a rainstorm turned most of the snow to slush. When we got back to school on Monday, there was no snow left. It was rainy and yucky the first day back from vacation, a slushy day. That's how I was feeling inside. I nodded hey to August the first time I saw him. We were in front of the lockers. He nodded hey back. I wanted to tell him about lightning, but I didn't. Fortune favors the bold. Mr. Brown's December precept was, "Fortune favors the bold." We were all supposed to write a paragraph about some time in our lives when we did something very brave and how, because of it, something good happened to us. I thought about this a lot, to be truthful. I have to say, I think the bravest thing I ever did was become friends with August. But I couldn't write about that, of course. I was afraid we'd have to read these out loud, or Mr. Brown would put them up on the bulletin board like he sometimes does. So instead I wrote this lame thing about how I used to be afraid of the ocean when I was little. It was dumb, but I couldn't think of anything else. I wonder what August wrote about. He probably had a lot of things to choose from. Private school. My parents are not rich. I say this because people sometimes think that everyone who goes to private school is rich, but that isn't true with us. Dad's a teacher and Mom's a social worker, which means they don't have the kind of jobs where people make gazillions of dollars. We used to have a car, but we sold it when Jamie started kindergarten at Beecher Prep. We don't live in a big townhouse or in one of those dorm-in buildings along the park. We live on the top floor of a 5-story walk-up we rent from an old lady named Doña Petra all the way on the other side of Broadway. That's code for the section of the North River Heights where people don't want to park their cars. Me and Jamie share a room. I overhear my parents talk about things like, can we do without air conditioner one more year? Or maybe I can work 2 jobs this summer. So today at recess, I was hanging out with Julian and Henry and Miles. Julian, who everyone knows is rich, is like, I hate that I have to go back to Paris this Christmas. It's so boring. Dude, it's like Paris, I said like an idiot. Believe me, it is so boring, he said. My grandmother lives in this house in the middle of nowhere. It's like an hour away from Paris in this tiny, tiny, tiny village where, I swear to God, nothing happens there. I mean, it's like, oh wow, there's another fly on the wall. Look, there's a new dog sleeping on the sidewalk. Yippee! I laughed. Sometimes Julian could be very funny. Though my parents are talking about throwing a big party this year instead of going to Paris. I hope so. What are you doing over break? Said Julian. Just hanging out, I said. You're so lucky, he said. I hope it snows again, I answered. I got this new sled that's so amazing. I was about to tell him about lightning, but Miles started talking first. I got a new sled too, he said. My dad got it from Hammaker Slammer. It's so state-of-the-art. How could a sled be state-of-the-art, said Julian. It was like $800 or something. Whoa, we should all go sledding and have a race down Skeleton Hill, I said. That hill is so lame, answered Julian. Are you kidding, I said. Some kid broke his neck there. That's why it's called Skeleton Hill. Julian narrowed his eyes and looked at me like I was the biggest moron in the world. It's called Skeleton Hill because it was an ancient Indian burial ground, duh. He said, anyway, it should be called Garbage Hill now. It's so freaking junky. Last time I was there, it was so gross, like with soda cans and broken bottles and stuff. He shook his head. I left my old sled there, said Miles. It was the crappiest piece of junk, and someone took it, too. Maybe a hobo wanted to go sledding, laughed Julian. Where did you leave it, I said. By the big rock at the bottom of the hill, and I went back the next day and it was gone. I couldn't believe somebody actually took it. Here's what we can do, said Julian. Next time it snows, my dad could drive us all up to his golf course in Westchester that makes Skeleton Hill look like nothing. Hey, Jack, where are you going? I had started to walk away. I've got to get a book out of my locker, I lied. I just wanted to get away from them fast. I didn't want anyone to know I was the hobo who had taken his sled. In science. I'm not the greatest student in the world. I know some kids actually like school, but I honestly can't say I do. I like some parts of school, like PE and computer class. and lunch and recess. But all in all, I'd be fine without school. The thing I hate the most about school is all the homework we get. It's not enough that we have to sit through class after class and try to stay awake while they fill our heads with all this kind of stuff we'll probably never need to know. Like how to figure out the surface area of a cube, or what's the difference between kinetic and potential energy. I'm like, who cares? I never ever heard my parents say kinetic in their entire life. I hate science the most out of all my classes. We get so much work, it's not even funny. And the teacher, Ms. Rubin, is so strict about everything, even the way we write our headings at the top of our papers. I once got 2 points off a homework assignment because I didn't put the date on top. Crazy stuff. When me and August were still friends, I was doing okay in science because August sat next to me and always let me copy his notes. August has the neatest handwriting of anybody I've ever seen who's a boy. Even his script is neat, up and down perfectly with really small, round, loopy letters. And now that we're ex-friends, it's bad because I can't ask him to let me copy his notes anymore. So I was kind of scrambling today, trying to take notes about what Miss Rubin was saying. My handwriting is awful. When all of a sudden she started talking about the 5th grade science fair project, how we all had to choose a science project to work on. While she was saying this, I was thinking, we just finished the freaking Egypt project and now we have to start a whole new thing? And then in my head I was going, oh no, like that kid in Home Alone, when his mouth hanging open and his hands on the side of his face. That's the face I was making on the inside. And then I thought about those pictures of melting ghost faces I've seen somewhere, where the mouths are wide open and they're screaming. And then all of a sudden this picture flew into my head, this memory, and I knew what Summer had meant by bleeding scream. It's so weird how it all just came to me in a flash. Someone in homeroom had dressed up as Bleeding Scream costume on Halloween. I remember seeing him a few desks away from me, and then I remember not seeing him again. Oh man, it was August. All of a sudden, this hit me in science class while the teacher was talking. Oh man, I'd been talking to Julian about August. Oh man, now I understood. I was so mean. I don't even know why. I'm not even sure what I said, but it was bad. It was only a minute or two. It's just that I knew Julian and everyone thought I was so weird for hanging out with August all the time, and I felt stupid. And I don't know why I said that stuff. I just was going along. I was stupid. I am stupid. Oh, God, he was supposed to come as Boba Fett. I would have never said that stuff in front of Boba Fett. But that was him, that bleeding scream sitting at the desk looking over at us. The long white mask with the fake squirting blood, the mouth wide open, like a ghoul was crying, and that was him. I felt like I was going to puke. We will pick up again in a few days, reading Wonder by RJ Palacio.